count at 1 ball and 1 strike.
In Atlanta last year, 145 home runs were hit in that ballpark. I mentioned the vet in Philadelphia, 129 home runs there.
Interesting stat on Dwight Gooden. Of course, Dwight holds almost every rookie record ever set for a Major League pitcher, and a good fastball. And Von Hayes now with a count of 1-2.
Well, Dwight Gooden with good pop on that fastball today. Usually he gets it as he goes along, but right here in the first inning, he's bringing some smoke.
Gooden with a lifetime record of 42-13. Von Hayes, incidentally, was the 21st player to have 2 home runs in 1 inning, and the 13th in the National League. Runner at second base, Gary Reedus. Double to start off the ball game. Thompson followed him with a strikeout, and now a count of 1-2 on Von Hayes. Hayes hit .263 last year with 13 home runs. Fastball, goodbye. So Gooden gets his second strikeout, and now 2 men away.
Again, Dwight Gooden throwing that heater right by Von Hayes. Von Hayes with a quick bat just couldn't get the bat around in time. And Gooden goes upstairs on you with that fastball. He's going to be almost unhittable because there's guys that throw the ball up there 89 miles an hour that are unhittable upstairs.
So Von Hayes back to the bench, and Mike Schmidt up. Schmidt with 41 home runs against the Mets. 460 in his Major League career, 17th in the all-time list. He's hit 1 home run against Dwight Gooden. And he has 2 for the year with 5 RBIs, hitting .333. Curveball, and a beauty.
That's a good curveball right there. You know, Ralph, there's certain guys you like to, I mean, you just take a look at him at home plate, and you like the way Mike Schmidt stands there. Right here, he takes a good breaking ball.
Hayes hit a home run in last night's ball game over the center field fence, 410 feet away, against the wind. Fastball and a ball call by home plate umpire Ed Montague.
You watch Mike Schmidt take that curveball for a strike. When Gooden throws that curveball first pitch to a right-handed batter especially, can't swing at that pitch.
1985, 3rd in the National League in home runs, 4th in slugging, 2nd in walks, 9th in on-base percentage. Hit 33 home runs last year. Fastball grounded slowly out to the third base side. It'll be a tough play for Gooden. He can't make it. Hernandez comes off the bag to take the throw and hold the runner at third. So a top base hit for Mike Schmidt.
The only time Mike Schmidt hits a ball like this, he's got a real good chance for a base hit because everybody's back expecting the ball to jump off that bat. Mike right there getting that top hand on top of the ball, smothering the ball a little, and picking up an infield hit.
He was totally overpowered by the pitch, a fastball inside, but lucky enough to top it out to third to come up with a hit. That brings up Glenn Wilson. Wilson hitting .192 so far this year with no home runs and 3 RBIs. Last night's ball game, he was 0 for 3. Runners at first and third, 2 men away, top of the first. And Gooden's fastball a strike. Wilson, a fine year last year, is all-time high in the National League for offensive stats. Batted .275, 14 home runs, 102 RBIs. Fastball missed. Strike 2, and Gooden's velocity so far, as we just get underway, the fastest he's thrown this year.
Yes, and here it is right by Glenn Wilson. Good heater. When you're facing a guy like Gooden, of course, with less than 2 strikes, you want to guess the pitch and hopefully guess a location, because if he gets it in other locations, you've got a problem.
Well, runners on base, and Wilson stays alive as he flicks the bat and fouls it off into the stands. The count remains at strike 2.
And keep in mind, Glenn Wilson, a good major league hitter right there with a defensive swing. The only type of swing you could take in a situation like that is you get a look at big crowd on hand here at Shea Stadium. The Mets setting an all-time New York attendance record last year.
Record that they held anyway.
Right.
They broke their own record.
That's right.
2 strikes to count. Again, Gooden back, and Wilson was ready to accept strike 3, but it was called a ball.
Ball getting out of Barry Lyons' glove right there. Sometimes an umpire will react to the way a catcher handles the ball. They shouldn't, but at times they will. Here's that pitch again.
It was low, so the count at 1 ball and 2 strikes. Wilson started wearing glasses last spring training a year ago, and he had his finest year last year.
And the Mets have a Wilson that started wearing glasses a year ago, and he did a fine job. Mookie Wilson.
1 and 2, and again it's fouled off, so the count stays at 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Gary Reedus really coming down that third baseline in a hurry when Dwight Gooden is winding up. Has to be disconcerting, no matter how many years or experience you have pitching.
So once again, the signs go out with Reedus at third, Schmidt at first, 2 men away, top of the first. And a curveball hit up the middle, and it will be a base hit. A run will score as Reedus crosses home plate, and the Phillies take the lead 1-0. And Wilson, battling against Gooden, flicks that bat once again, and this time comes up with an infield base hit.
Well, you have to give credit to the batter right here. Glenn Wilson fought off some great pitches, and that's a good pitch right there. Wilson hitting the ball up the middle. Good effort by Tuffle. Would have been tough to get Schmidt at second base because he runs well. Here it is again. Tuffle knocking that ball down, keeping the ball in the infield, therefore keeping Schmidt at second base. And the Phillies are on the board with 1 run, and they have the lead here in the first inning.
So 1-0 Philadelphia. Runners at first and second and 2 men out, and Darren Daulton the batter. Daulton making an appearance against the Mets, hitting at .333 with 4 hits and 12 times up. And of his 4 hits, 2 of them have been home runs. And he takes a called strike. Daulton hit only 4 home runs in 36 games last year, but 2 of 4 hits for home runs so far this year.
He tattooed a home run off the upper deck facing at the vet last Sunday. Very strong. John Felsky, the manager of the Phillies, tells me he's the strongest guy in the ball club.
That includes Mike Schmidt and Steve Carlton. And the fastball high, the count 1 ball, 1 strike.
Daulton also a fine receiver, throws very, very well, and is very quick afoot.
Other than that,
he's got problems.
He's got a lot of trouble. He will be the #1 catcher for the Phillies, and the fastball foul back out of play. The Philadelphia Phillies traded away 2 catchers, Ozzie Virgil and also Bo Diaz.
Well, Bo Diaz last year going into the '85 season was the regular catcher, and he was injured, and I believe it happened here at Shea Stadium or re-injured. As you look at calendar weekend here at Shea Stadium today and tomorrow. Calendars for all the fans coming through the turnstiles.
Free calendar.
And plenty of good seats still available.
For tomorrow's ball game, huh? Fastball struck him out. Gooden strikes out the side, but gives up 1 run on 3 hits. He leaves 2 in the score. At the end of 1/2 inning, the Phillies won. The Mets coming up. Shea Rawley on the mound for the Phillies. The Phillies leading 1-0 as the Mets take their first turn. Rawley with a record of 1-0, an earned run average of 1.50. Lifetime against the Mets, he's 4-1. Shea Rawley.
And Rawley will pitch against this lineup right here. Kevin Mitchell leading off in center field. Tim Tuffle at second base, batting #2. Tim had a tough night last night. 4 Ks in that ball game for Tim Tuffle. Keith Hernandez batting third at first base. Right field, left field, Gary Carter. He'll bat cleanup. In right field, Darryl Strawberry batting #5. Ray Knight batting 6th at third base. Barry Lyons in his major league debut, catching Dwight Gooden, is batting 7th. Rafael Santana, the shortstop, batting 8th. Dwight Gooden, the pitcher, batting 9th.
And the defense, Hayes, Aguayo, Jeltz, and Schmidt. And in the outfield, it is Reedus, Thompson, and Wilson left to right. The catcher is Daulton, and Rawley, the pitcher. Rawley, a much-traveled pitcher. He started off moving around early in his career, was traded from the Yankees to the Philadelphia Phillies, and he has a lifetime record of 71-72. And his first batter will be Kevin Mitchell, making his first start this year for the Mets.
You know, Ralph, you mentioned at 71-72. That's deceiving.
And a first pitch pop-up out into right field. Wilson is there, and Glenn makes the catch.
The reason it's deceiving is Shea Rawley pitched about 5 years in the major leagues out of the bullpen. Did a fine job as a member of the Seattle Mariners. Traded to the Yankees, and the Yankees decided to make him a starter, and he did a fine job for them and has really become effective with the Philadelphia Phillies.
Now Now the batter will be Tim Tuffle, hitting 158. Struck out 4 times against Steve Carlton last night. He got his initiation fee.
What a feeling that is.
Tuffle so far this year, after a very, very good spring, hitting 158, 3 hits and 19 times up. Ground ball hit hard to Schmidt, and Schmidt with that great glove comes up with it. 2 men away.
Mentioned those 4 strikeouts in the ballgame. A lot of managers would tend to put a guy on the bench the following day, but Davey Johnson has him right back out there.
One thing about Davey, he is committed to his own plan, and he does not vary from it. Here's Keith Hernandez. Keith hitting 346 with no home runs and 2 RBIs. Last night's ball game, 1 for 3. A big base hit to start the rally in the 7th inning, and he was given a life, although it was not charged in there, when Schmidt misplayed his pop-up in foul territory. It should have been caught. They got the Mets rally going. They scored 2 runs to go in front, leading 3-2. Added 2 more on Foster's RBI single, and won it 5-2. 1 ball, no strikes to Keith Hernandez. Keith at 309 last year, and he takes a fastball.
That's interesting watching Hernandez bat against a tough left-hander like Rawley. A lot of guys tend to get on the heels and bail out of there or pull off the ball, where Hernandez is really pronounced stepping into the ball.
And the breaking ball just does miss. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Very early age, Keith Hernandez used to bat against his father, who was a left-hander. That helps. Is there, and he makes the catch. So the Mets go in order in their half inning. The score at the end of 1. Philadelphia 1, the Mets nothing. Well, we're going now to the top of the 2nd. Philadelphia leading 1-0 on 1 run on 3 hits in the 1st, although Dwight Gooden struck out the side. And it will be Luis Aguayo the lead off. Aguayo 0 for 2 in last night's ball game. Batting .333, and the fastball high. Of course, the Phillies right now missing a guy who plays second base so well, really improved defensively, and an outstanding offensive player, Juan Samuel.
Out with a pulled ribcage muscle, and the pitch back, a fastball by Gooden, strike call.
Talking to Gary Maddox, the backup outfielder with the Phillies at one time, an everyday outfielder doing a fine job for the Phillies, and he was talking about Samuel, reminding him of Bobby Bonds also, and Bobby Bonds' prime.
High chopper, it'll be tough for Knight. He'll have to hurry. He gets his man. So, as Tim McCarver says, a helicopter shot.
Here it is here. Aguayo hitting that ball in front of the plate, way up in the air, and Knight making a nice play, nice catch, nice throw. Key right there is to get rid of the ball as quickly as possible, almost like a catcher's throw. When you catch it, the ball will go, the hand will take the ball right by the ear, a short arm type throw.
Catching that ball by the shoulder helps, because that right arm is in good position to throw as you would in the outfield. And that brings up Steve Jeltz. Jeltz hitting .320 for the year. He's driven in 3. A switch hitter. He just started batting left-handed this year in spring training and tore it up. He hit .423 in spring training. At one point in the minor leagues, he attempted to bat left-handed and then gave it up.
Gave it up, and this past winter went back home to Kansas and worked on it.
And a good fastball by Gooden.
I don't think anybody that has some speed is not going to hit a whole lot of home runs and can switch hits should, especially with the artificial surfaces around the league now. Put the ball in play and just run. It made Willie Wilson with the Kansas City Royals an outstanding major league player.
And you see that stat on Dwight Gooden, 31st time he has struck out the side when he did it back in the 1st, and he had that fastball right on by Steve Jeltz. When a batter switches to a left-hand batter for the first time, he has difficulty getting the bat through the ball, and that time he was totally handcuffed, but he has been able to do it all spring and earlier this year. Batting .320 after hitting .189 last year in 89 games. Up another strikeout, his 4th, and he has 2 men away here in the 2nd.
Here it is again. As we mentioned, he just started switch hitting. Has to be difficult to face a guy like Gooden when you first start switch hitting. Good fastball right there, upstairs and right by Steve Jeltz.
And that brings up Shane Rawley, a fine hitting pitcher. And the first pitch, strike 1. Rawley hitting 138. He hit 385 with 6 runs batted in last year with runners in scoring position. And the fastball fouled back.
And keep in mind that Shane Rawley has spent most of his time in the American League, where he didn't hit for a number of years.
Got his first major league hit off of Danny Cox of the St. Louis Cardinals. That was in 1984.
How about this year already? We've seen a guy who swings the bat pretty well, a pitcher, go up in a pinch hitter's role.
And there's a ball call. It's 1 ball, 2 strikes. Not unusual in the old days. Pitchers like Wes Farrell, who hit 38 home runs, Red Ruffing, Bob Lemon, all fine hitting pitchers. Strike 3 and 5 strikeouts in the first 2 innings for Dwight Gooden. But after a 1-2-3 inning here in the second, he trails by a score of 1-0. Gary Carter, the leadoff for the Mets. Phillies leading by a score of 1-0. Bottom half of the second. Carter hitting .320 for the year and .389 against the Phillies with 1 home run and 6 RBIs. Carter has hit in 5 consecutive games, and Rawley with a breaking ball for ball 1.
It's like a day off for Gary Carter going to left field.
Did you hang that up there?
Yeah, I was up there earlier. I've been up that high before.
I was going to say, you're always up there. 1 ball, 1 strike as Carter bats. Phillies 1 run on 3 hits. The Mets were out in order in their first inning. And this one comes out to the second base side. Plenty of time for Aguayo to make the play against Carter, and he makes it perfectly.
You know, the amazing thing about this guy, Gary Carter, is he has such great years, even late in the year. No such thing with him as going into the middle of August and then tailing off. He had the best part of his year last year was September.
Unbelievable in September when he was the player of the month.
13 home runs. You're supposed to be tired in September when you catch 140-some-odd games.
Now Darryl Strawberry, and he grounds off the fastball.
I believe he had 143 games. You'd have been a good catcher.
All-time record for games caught by a catcher, Al Lopez, 1918. 1,918. And Strawberry pulls it foul.
Yeah, but he did it with defense.
He was not a great hitter. You're right about that. He was a good defensive catcher and not a great thrower, but he had great release.
I'll tell you right now, if you were behind the plate, Ralph would have taken 100 home runs away from you.
It does get to you, huh?
Ooh, especially when you can't hit.
2 strikes to count to Strawberry, and there's a fastball, strike 3. So Strawberry hitting .227, called out on strikes. Darryl with 2 RBIs so far this year, and Rawley gets his first strikeout.
Here it is again. Darryl Strawberry facing a tough left-hander. Good pitch right there. A lot of times that ball will hit the front part of the plate and go off the plate. Tough pitch to hit.
And it brings up Ray Knight, hitting .400 with 2 home runs and 5 RBIs. Drove in the game-winning RBIs in last night's ball game with a single with the bases loaded. Came in the first inning with 2 men out. And that's ball 1.
Ray Knight off to a good start. And of course, that can mount up, give you more confidence, compound into a good year.
And it's ball 2. He told me last night on Kiner's Corner that he has felt so good at the plate. And that is a ball player's expression. You feel good, not well. And he said he just has that confidence now that things are going to work out for him. 2-0 to count. And the strike call, 2-1.
Because now his wife Nancy Lopez is home for a while. Last year she was playing on the tour. I bet those young ladies on the tour are happy that Nancy is expecting a child.
And ground ball up the middle. Rawley tried to swat at it, luckily didn't touch it. And the play is made by Aguayo, and the Mets go out in order for the second time. And the score at the end of 2, it is the Phillies 1 and the Mets nothing. Beautiful day, beautiful crowd, and the Mets trailing by a score 1-0 with Philadelphia coming up here in the top of the third. The man who has scored the only run of the ball game will lead it off, Gary Ritas. Ritas doubled to right and scored on an infield base hit by Glenn Wilson in the first inning. So Ritas, 2 2 for 5 so far in this 3-game series. And Dwight Gooden misses with a fastball. Gooden has struck out 5, walked none, while giving up 1 run and 3 hits. Dwight struck out the side in the first, picked up his other 2 in the second. Two balls, no strikes.
Ritas had a couple good years in Cincinnati, but ran into a problem with player-manager Pete Rose, where they started to insult each other last year, and now Ritas is with a new ball club.
All he did was tell Pete Rose he shouldn't be playing. He was hurting the ball club, and that was like telling your boss he had to get out. Guess who went?
That's right. And Ritas, of course, as I mentioned, 48 stolen bases the past 2 years, playing really half a year.
Batted .252 last year with those 48 stolen bases, had 6 home runs. He has the second highest batting average ever in professional baseball. And this ball is fouled away out of play.
He hit about 411 one year?
No, he hit 462 for Billings in the Pioneer League. The all-time high was hit back in 1913, 477 by a guy named Walter Malmquist, who never made it to the Major League.
That'll happen a lot. How about some of these guys that go into minor leagues and really put some stats on the board and never get out of AAA?
And the fastball fouled back.
I played with a guy named George Spriggs in AAA, and he was the Willie Mays of AAA and could not play in the Major Leagues. And this guy had some talent, Ralph.
Been some great hitters that never made Major League ball on a permanent basis.
That's why when you read during the winter that you have a phenom, you become skeptical.
You've been around a while. You doubt those stats in the minors.
Yes. I had some. Just
3-2. Out to center field. Ritas, who has hit more fly balls than anybody in the National League in his career, and the short time he's been up here, flies out again. Say, this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the New York Mets and is intended solely for the private, non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Mets and the Sports Channel is prohibited. Announcers on this telecast were selected by Sports Channel and approved by the Mets. And Milt Thompson takes his first pitch for ball 1. Thompson struck out looking at a fastball his first time up. He's way behind the fastball, pops it up in foul territory. No chance for Gary Carter, who comes up from his left field position to make the try.
Good hustle right there by Gary Carter. Boy, you can put those catches at any position. Here it is again, Gary Carter really hustling after that ball, obviously sliding because he felt he was closer to the wall, and that would stop him from hammering his head there.
Carter being rested by playing left field today.
Oh, it's like a day off, really. You lose your concentration.
Bounce right back to Gooden. He has an easy play. 2 men away.
Of course, the big experiment in left field in baseball is in Chicago with the White Sox, where they moved Carlton Fisk from behind the plate to left field.
And at night, Gooden's 30 wins and daytime 12. A little tougher at night on those stats. This is the one thing he misses about playing in the outfield and not catching. The fact he has no directorship. He can't run anything out there, and he has no one to talk to.
That's why they probably put him out there. He used to go out to the mound 5 times an inning.
Drive you crazy.
He's done a fine job over the years, playing first with Boston and then with the White Sox.
Playing at first, not first base.
Playing first up in Seattle. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's all right. I just wanted to clear it up.
Okay. Well, I thought a lot of the baseball fans would understand it.
Here's the pitch once again.
Good curveball.
Ron Hayes was struck out swinging at a fastball. Now Gooden starts him off with a curveball. Fastball and goodbye. Gooden gets his 6th strikeout, another 1-2-3 inning, and the score at the end of 2.5 innings, the Phillies 1, the New York Mets nothing. Fans, don't forget, tomorrow and Sunday is, well, I shouldn't say tomorrow. Tomorrow is Sunday, and it is Snapper Calendar Weekend.
Don't get on me anymore.
Well, that's the way it was written down here. All all fans attending the Mets-Phillies game tomorrow, well, today they got it, and Sunday will receive a handsome Mets 25 anniversary calendar, courtesy of Snapper Mowers, Tillers, and Tractors. This unique calendar takes you from opening day through the playoffs and World Series right to the next year's spring training. And it comes packed with color photos commemorating the Mets' 25-year history. So come out to Shea Stadium for Snapper Calendar Day tomorrow and see baseball like it ought to be. Call 718-507-TIXX for all ticket information about tomorrow. Game time Sunday, 1:35 p.m.
Well, if you're like most Mets fans, you never seem to get enough news about your team. But now you can by picking up the latest copy of the New York Mets Inside Pitch, the official newspaper of the New York Mets. You can get Mets Inside Pitch at your local newsstand or by subscribing through this toll-free number during business hours. The number is 1-800-421-7751. You'll get 12 issues a year, inside information on the ball club, complete minor league reports, including stats, the Mets trivia page, viewpoints of New York writers, Red Foley, Dan Castellano, and Jack Lang, guest celebrity columnists, clubhouse clippings, and much more. It's the ultimate publication for the ultimate Mets fan, and it's only $14.95. Once again, the number to order Mets Inside Pitch is 1-800-421-7751.
And Barry Lyons to make his major league appearance right here, and he swings and pops it up. Second baseman Luis Aguayo tracking it down, and Lyons on his first pitch against major league pitching in the major leagues flies out to the second baseman.
And that was a major league pop-up. Barry Lyons had a fine year last year in the minor leagues, and this year selected by Davey Johnson, I think, Ralph, because he is an offensive catcher. And I think the day of the old-time catcher that hangs around the major leagues for 10, 12 years as a backup player is over because of the salaries.
And now Santana, the batter, the bunt down to third. Good play by Schmidt. He gets it to first base in time for the out. So 2 pitches and 2 men away. So you mean the days of the Ralph Houcks and the Charlie Severas are gone forever?
That's right, because of those salaries. Here's that bunt again. Pretty good bunt, but you can't do it on this guy because he's one of the best at fielding it. Mike Schmidt, Gold Glove winner. Outstanding play right there. Probably the most difficult play for an infielder to come in, catch that ball that's moving with your bare hands.
So 2 pitches and 2 away, and Dwight Gooden the batter. Dwight takes his first pitch for ball 1.
Yeah, Ralph, I think that the old-time catcher can stay around for a few years, but if his salary gets too high, they'll go with the younger guy.
And Gooden hits it in the air to center field. Dwight with 1 hit so far this year. And the ball is put away, and Shane Rawley has pitched a perfect ball game through 3 innings. And the score at the end of 3, the Phillies won, the Mets nothing.
Well, we're back here at Shea Stadium. We're going to the top of the 4th inning. 1-0 Phil's on top of the Mets. 3 hits in the game, all by the Phils. Shane Rawley's been perfect so far, and a guy who's been involved in a lot of games in baseball. We talked about catchers, and this guy's been involved in baseball for 18 years as a player, slipping into the booth. Tim McCarver.
All right, Francis. Never a perfect game, though.
Never a perfect game. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough to catch.
Several no-hitters, but no perfect games. I've never seen a perfect game.
Don Larson.
Yeah, but I didn't see it. I saw the last 3 outs, but I didn't see the whole game.
All right. Jim Bunning pitched a perfect game here at Shea. He was a member of the Phils, and the Phils are at bat, and Mike Schmidt takes down low ball 1.
Jim Bunning did it on Father's Day back in 1964. Sparkling play by Tony Taylor in the 5th inning of that game.
And the 1-0 pitch, breaking ball out of the strike zone. 2 balls and no strikes. Jim Bunning, what they told him, you can't pitch like that with that unorthodox follow-through.
Won 100 games in both leagues.
He did it.
And by right should be in the Hall of Fame, I think.
I believe he's running for governor again in Kentucky. 2 balls and no strikes on Mike Schmidt.
Oh, boy.
Is that a tough pitch to hit with 2 balls and no strikes?
Yep. Not exactly looking for that. Gooden has been superb. He has struck out 6, but the Phillies squeezed across a run, not with a squeeze play, but with an infield hit in the 1st.
And the heater, ground ball, 3rd base. Ray Knight makes a play, long throw in time. 1 out.
I'll tell you, it's always good policy to come back with a fastball when you're behind in the count and you get an off-speed pitch over. because the hitter's more inclined to look for another off-speed pitch. I am impressed early with Barry Lyons' ability to call the game. If you remember Von Hayes, back in the third inning when he made the third out, 2 curveballs and a heater over the outside. He's doing a fine job.
Right there he calls for the curveball to lead off Glenn Wilson. Wilson with an infield hit in the first inning, driving in that run that Tim just talked about. There's a curveball, and Wilson puts the ball in play. Santana to first, score at 6-3, 2 outs. Well, tomorrow at 5:30, the New Jersey Nets take on the Milwaukee Bucks in Game 2 of the exciting NBA playoff basketball. Catch all the action in Nets and the Bucks tomorrow at 5:30, only on Sportschannel, #1 in New York sports. Some games not available in all areas.
There's something about our AD, Ellen Rubinoff. She just doesn't look quite the same as she's looked in past years.
And Darren Dalton, the catcher for the Phillies, the batter, fouls the ball out of play. Ellen looks the same to me.
Not to me. She has that fake nose, mustache, and glasses. Or is it fake? I'm not too sure.
Ellen doing a fine job up here as Darren Dalton's trying to do it down there, and he takes a fastball for a strike, 0-2. So Dwight Gooden right now with 6 strikeouts. We're in the top of the 4th inning, 2 men down. And the 0-2 pitch. Heater outside, 1-2. Call this pitch, Tim. What do you think? What are you going to call for right here?
I'm going to call for a high heater. I don't know.
Okay. Well, you can call for anything with Gooden. The curveball just misses outside, 2-2.
Yeah, you've got 2 pitches from which to select either the fastball or the curveball at any time. He has good control with the curveball behind in the count, as he's shown with Mike Schmidt in this inning.
And 2-2 on Darren Dalton.
He's going to go to the whip on this one. Fastball inside he wants.
And Dalton skies the ball. Another major league pop-up. Rafael Santana makes the play for out number 3. So for Gooden, here in the 4th, he fails to K anybody, but they go up, 3 down. At the end of 3.5 innings of play, there's the score. Phillies 1, Mets nothing. Well, Kevin Mitchell will lead it off as you look at a young Mets fan here at Shea Stadium. Beautiful young lady, and we have a beautiful day for a ball game. Big crowd on hand. Kevin Mitchell, his first time up, fly to right field. Mitchell playing center field today for the Mets, and Shane Rawley pulls the string, and Mitchell hits the ball off the end of the bat. And an easy out right there for Shane Rawley, 1 down.
Well, Kevin Mitchell swung at the first pitch his first time up, and now went for the first pitch his second time up, so he's in 2 at-bats has seen Shane Rawley on 2 pitches. And with a lot of young hitters, the more pitches you see, the better your chances are of getting a hit. But some hitters are just, they want to hack at that first pitch, just get a little too anxious. And that's one of the signs of young hitters.
And here's Tim Tuffle, another young hitter. Had a tough night last night, right there taking a strike from Shane Rawley. Tuffle in this ball game, 0 for 1. He grounded to third base in the first. Gets a shot at the shortstop. Nice play. Soft hands by Steve Jeltz. Score is 6-3.
What a play is right, Fran. These are the soft hands that Fran was talking about. An in-between hop. Now watch how the hand and the glove give with the hop. Little pirouette, strong throw. That was some kind of play. See, that's the softness right there. If you stab at that ball, the ball hits the heel of the glove, bounces out in the center field for an infield hit. Fine play by Jeltz.
Plugged a big hole for the Phillies. He's taken over the shortstop's job. Tom Foley on the disabled list, and Keith Hernandez, the batter, takes a strike. No balls and 1 strike. We have 2 men out. We're in the bottom of the 4th inning. 1-0 Phil's on top of the Mets. You're watching all the action on Sportschannel. I'm Fran Healy along with Chet McCarver and Ralph Kiner. And Hernandez takes up high, 1-1. Ground ball to second base. A Lyle down on one knee, makes the catch and a flip to first. Score at 4-3. That'll do it for the Mets here in the fourth. And Rawley sets them down 1-2-3 after 4. Phillies 1, Mets nothing. Well, top of the fifth inning here at Shea Stadium. And some of the U.S. Navy.
Leading off.
Franny, you heard that song by Whitney Houston called The Greatest. And there's two lines in that song that's just phenomenal and kind of depicts Dwight Gooden. Says, people say that children are our future. Teach them right and let them lead the way. And he's led the way for the Mets for the last 2 years.
Yes, he has. Right there throwing a fastball by Luis Aguayo. Yeah, Gooden's done a fine job. The Mets have another guy doing a fine job on right field, Darryl Strawberry, another youngster. And the 0-1 pitch to Aguayo, fly ball left field. Gary Carter, just like he's been out there every day. 1 out. Biggest adjustment, Tim, for a catcher going to another position like left field.
Coming around to the plate.
This ball is a low fastball, and Carter has no trouble. He did start one game in the outfield last year. He started and played right field June 26th. His first start as a left fielder since way back on May 25th, 1977. And we'll talk about some of those adjustments.
And with 1 out, the batter is Steve Jeltz, who takes down low, ball 1. Jeltz struck out swinging in the second inning. Right now, Dwight Gooden has 6 strikeouts. I'm sorry, go ahead.
One of the big adjustments that a catcher has when he moves to another position is he finds his mind wandering because he always initiates the action.
And there's a chopper. Nice play by Ray Knight to first. A big league play. Scored 5-3.
Well, we are seeing some kind of fine ball game. Ray Knight, a fine play. He had to play shallow,
Rawley.
and he throws him out. Good play by Ray Knight. But when you as a catcher find yourself always initiating the action and then you can't do that, your mind starts wandering and wondering also.
Good point. As Shane Rawley, who's a good hitting pitcher, it's a fly ball to right field. Darryl Strawberry cruising after it, and he makes the catch for out number 3. So, for the Phils here in the fifth, 3-3 now. We have a pitcher's duel at Shea. Stay right there. That's the score after 4.5. 1-0 Phils. Well, Yankees action comes your way next week on Sportschannel. Monday at 8:30, the Yankees are in Kansas City to take on the Royals. And Saturday at 1:15, they're back home for a matchup with the Cleveland Indians. Yankee baseball this week on Sports Channel, #1 in New York sports. Right now, the action's at Shea Stadium. We got a pitcher's duel on our hands, and we have Gary Carter, and the graphic is correct. He's playing left field. He's 0 for 1. And he's facing Shane Rawley, who's been perfect so far. He misses outside, ball 1. Gary Carter grounded to second base his first time up. A strike, 1-1.
Shane Rawley has never pitched a no-hitter, but he did flirt with one last August 31st against the Dodgers when he pitched 7 2/3 of scoreless no-hit baseball.
He has the stuff to pitch a no-hitter.
Yeah, yes, sir.
You know, we talked about the defensive plays in this ball game. You tend to see better defensive plays when you have 2 pitchers on the mound like this. Guys that are getting the ball over and are very effective.
And work fast.
Right. 3 balls and 1 strike.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, because if you get a pitcher out there going ball 1, ball 2, your infielders get lax.
That's right.
And more inclined to make an error. First base runner of the game.
So Shane Rawley is no longer perfect, although he does have the ability, as we mentioned, to throw a no-hitter. Gary Carter down on first base, and Darryl Strawberry, the batter. Nobody out. We're in the bottom of the 5th inning. Another big crowd on hand here at Shea Stadium, and we have a beautiful day for a ball game. Strawberry hits a fly ball, shallow left field. Reedus coming in, and a tough play. Nice catch by Gary Reedus. He had to run a long way for that ball, and he has real good speed.
Phillies with an excellent defensive outfield. Talking to John Felsky before the game, and he felt that that's probably the biggest improvement with this ball club this year is their defensive outfield. Milt Thompson in center, and of course the speed that you just saw of Gary Reedus. Not too many tweeners between those guys. Glenn Wilson also can play his position extremely well in right.
And I think the day is gone where you're going to see outfielders who don't run real fast because a lot of games are played on the artificial surface.
The rug, that's right. You got to cut the balls off in the gap because instead of doubles, they're triples on the rug.
And Ray Knight, the batter, fouls the ball off. We have one out. Gary Carter on first base. 1-0 ball game. Phil's on top of the Mets. Talking about that rug, Tim, as you mentioned, putting the defense in the gap. Remember at one time you would go into a meeting and they would align that defense. I mean, if the guy pulled the ball, you'd say, okay, shift way over on him. Where now, on that artificial surface, you have to be careful. Guy takes a check swing and slaps the ball over to second baseman's head. He's got a chance for extra bases. No balls and 1 strike on Ray Knight, and he fouls the ball into the Met dugout. 0-2.
I have never been a proponent of overshifted outfield or infield play. My feeling's the same as Kurt Simmons. Kurt used to say, and an outstanding pitcher for the Phillies and Cardinals, he used to say that Doubleday put him there for a reason. You play straight away in the outfield. And I will venture to say that a lot of big league outfielders don't even know what straight away is. Straight away is an alignment for the left fielder, and we'll explain it in just a second.
And the 0-2 pitch inside, 1-2.
If you're the left fielder, you line up first and second base and play in direct line. That is straight away. If you're a right fielder, you line up between second and third and play straight away. As you see the Philly outfield right now, giving up the gap. And of course, if you're a center fielder, right behind second base.
Foul ball out of play.
Or you line up second base. You don't play right behind second base unless you're Chuck Tanner using a 7-man infield like we saw here.
And now, of course, everything's done with the computer. They feed that computer defensive alignments where guys hit the ball most of the time.
Guess Abner in 1839 was ahead of his time.
That's right. Outside, 2-2. You're watching all the action on a beautiful Saturday afternoon right here on Sportschannel, live from Shea Stadium. Score Phillies 1, Mets nothing. I'm Fran Healy along with Tim McCarver and Ralph Kiner. Hope you're enjoying the ball game. We have a good one. Gary Carter on first, being checked by Rawley, and the pitch tonight is outside. We have a full count.
They might say in England that it's Rawley a Gooden. It's Rawley a Gooden today. No, well, maybe we'll try something else then, Fred.
You sure you got the right country? you just got to look at Davy Johnson, 43 years old, 7th youngest manager in the National League. As Ray Knight fouls the ball back, count stays 3-2. Remember at one time the managers were a little older than 43. They used to think wisdom came with age. Now I think they give it to the younger guys because they have the stronger stomach.
Ray Knight really had a pitch to hit then and just fouled it back with Gary Carter running. And I would imagine he'll be off again.
3-2, 1 out. Gary receiving the sign from third base coach Buddy Harrelson. And the pitch. Once again, Carter on the move, and the ball fouled out of play. Talked about Davy Johnson, a young manager. John Felsky, only a year older than Davy Johnson. Manager of the Phillies. Felsky managing in the minor leagues 8 years, where Davy Johnson managed in the minor leagues for only 3 years. Well, really, 2. He managed in that Inter-American League for 1 year, the Miami Amigos. And a 3-2 pitch, but a check at first base as Carter gets back. As a catcher, that makes you feel good when they throw over to first base when you're a runner. And he breaks, and the pitch. Chopper in the hole, base hit. Gary Carter hustling to third base. And Ray Knight picks up the first hit of the ball game for the Mets.
And that's why you send the runner, even though Carter does not have good speed, you send him to stay out of the double play, and with one out, give Carter a chance to go to third on this 38 hopper through the infield. Jelk can't get to it. Reedus is playing deep, and because Carter was running, he's on third base, and the Mets have a chance to score a run without the benefit of a hit.
And Barry Lyons in his major league debut as a batter. Looking for his first major league hit, and he gets one here. He'll remember it. Yeah, he takes a good rep up high with that fastball, and he swung through it. 0-1.
That's a very difficult thing with a young hitter, and that's what Barry Lyons is telling himself right now. Be patient, but be quick.
Boy, he was quick right there. And the 0-1 pitch up high, 1-1. But you made that point before, Tim, with Kevin Mitchell, the batter, going after the first pitch in 2 consecutive bats. And you look at Davey Johnson, and it's a valid point. When you're a young guy in the big leagues, you want to impress the manager, you try to jump on that first fastball. There's that fastball there, and Lyons swings through it 1-2.
See, Rawley's reaching back right now. He has thrown probably his best fastballs to Barry Lyons. And the good pitchers do have a tendency to reach back with a runner on third base or in scoring position.
The 1-2 pitch up high, 2-2. Ed Montague calling balls and strikes this afternoon. On deck, Rafael Santana.
It appears Rawley's thrown 4 in a row, and I think he's going to throw another fastball right here.
And a 2-2 pitch. It's a fastball, and it's popped up. It'll go drift back into the crowd, not a play. Count stays 2-2.
There comes a time when a pitcher has to challenge a hitter, and Rawley feels as though this is the time, as he's thrown 5 fastballs in a row to Barry Lyons.
There's
another one.
And Darren Dalton flashing signs. The pitch. Ground ball right back up the middle off Rawley's foot. He goes to first. Carter tries to score. He's in there. Tie ball game.
Well, Shane Rawley knew when to challenge the hitter, but he didn't know what to do when he had Gary Carter hung up. Excellent reactions by Rawley, but better reactions by Carter. He looked at Carter, he was hung up, and when he threw to first, Carter came home and slid through the left leg of Darren Dalton. A catcher wouldn't have that happen had that throw been on line, because by reaching up for the ball, that takes the weight off the left leg and allows Carter to get in there. Now watch the throw. High throw, weights off the left leg, and that allows Carter to pound that left arm in there. Now watch the throw home again. Now watch Dalton. The throw's high, that takes the weight off the left leg. If the weight's on the left leg, he wards Carter off, and Gary never reaches the plate.
And a good point, Tim. And Gary Carter sliding head first, getting in there. An unusual slide going into home plate into all that equipment. And the batter right now, Rafael Santana, a runner down on second base. We have a tie ball game.
Man, that was exciting, wasn't it?
Oh,
that was fun.
Gary Carter coming home, and a ball hit right back to Rawley. And Santana hit the ground ball, hard ground ball. Mike Schmidt tags the oncoming runner, Ray Knight, and that'll do it for the Mets here in the bottom of the 5th. But they pick up 1 run, and as we go to the bottom, or go to the top of the 6th at Shea, it's all tied at 1. Well, we're going to see that exciting play from the bottom of the 5th, Tim.
We have tagged this play the good, as Rawley makes a good play, the bad by going the first, and the ugly. Von Hayes' throw home was an ugly throw and allowed Carter to score. Good, bad, ugly. And a predictable reaction by Shane Rawley. He knew he should have gone to third, but didn't, and that's why the game scored, tied at 1.
I really thought that Rawley was going to go after Carter, because Carter came down the line. He was halfway between third and home. He kind of surprised me when he decided to go to first. But anyways, good break for the Mets, and it's all tied at 1. Always exciting baseball when these two teams hook up.
Man, that'll get you adrenaline going, that play. Woo! That was fun.
And now we have a tie ball game at 1, and leading off for the Phillies is their leadoff batter, Gary Reedus. He's 1 for 2 in his game, doubled and scored the only run for the Phils, and he takes that curveball down low, ball 1.
Some excitement here at Shea, and tomorrow afternoon these two teams go at it again. The Phillies and the Mets. Calendar weekend here at Shea. Reedus hits a fly ball to left field. Gary Carter's there and makes the play, one down. Charles Hudson throwing in the Philly bullpen.
That's 14 in a row retired by Dwight Gooden, and at one time, Shane Rawley had 13 Mets in a row retired.
Shane was perfect, but no longer.
Make that 12. Gary Carter led off the fifth with a walk.
And the batter, Milt Thompson, hits a ground ball to second base. Tuffle bobbles the ball, goes to first, not in time. That's tough because Thompson can run. One of the reasons the Phillies went after speed is right there. They got a runner on base on an error.
Yeah, it was a bobble on Tim Tuffle, but you really got to give a lot of credit to Tim Thompson. Tuffle being a little bit too deliberate, and Thompson, or I said Tim Thompson, Milt Thompson, by running all the way right out of the box. Because that's a routine play. A lot of guys would take 2 or 3 steps and say, well, I'm out. Well, you never surmise that you're going to be out.
And, of course, Milt Thompson, struggling really for a while to stay in the major leagues, 27 years old. He's not going to loaf as you look at Fran Healy. 1 out, and Hayes fouls the ball off.
You know, that's one of those times where I couldn't find the right word. You gathered that, didn't you? I said surmise when I wanted to say assume. That's one of the things in journalism. It's never assume. Isn't that right?
Never assume to surmise. I understood exactly what you were saying.
Yeah, that's because you could see my eyes, but it wasn't the proper word, so I thought I'd come back with it.
All right.
All right.
English 101.
That's all I got to.
And they check Thompson at first base. Wise decision because Thompson can run. Fran Hayes in his ball game has batted twice and struck out twice. The 0-1 pitch inside, 1-1.
See Milt Thompson down there with those fingers moving. Looks like Ricky Henderson. Now Ricky Henderson of the Yankees will move those fingers before he runs. We'll try to get a little shot of him over there.
Well, he stole 34 bases last year, and Ricky, he can scoot. And 68 one year in Savannah. Look at the fingers. McCarver looking like a catcher, trying to figure out what this guy. I think he's going.
Fingers aren't moving.
There he goes, and fastball, throw to second, not in time. Ball scoots in the center field. Kevin Mitchell will retrieve that ball as Milt Thompson hustles to first base, stole second, advances to third on an error.
And with 1 out, of course, Davy Johnson does not want this because this gives Thompson a chance to go to third base, and now you got to bring the infield up, and it gives him a chance to score on something other than a hit. That's how the Mets, if you remember, got their run in the bottom of the fifth.
Of course, that great speed on third base, so many things can happen.
Pardon me, friend, I think I'd have Thompson go on contact.
Good point.
Even with the infield in.
And a lot of times you get that defensive swingless a 1 and 2 count, but that's not a defensive swing. That's an offensive swing and a base hit for Fran Healy. Thompson scores, and the Phillies take a 2-1 lead.
Well, that's what speed can do. Phillies with 1 in the first, and now they have just stolen a run right here. An error by Tim Tuffle on a routine play at second, and a throwing error by Barry Lyons, and a key base hit by Fran Healy, and he can run too.
6'6", and he can really run. He'll remind you a little bit of Darryl Strawberry, his build and his speed. Fran Healy can really scoot for a guy 6'6". The batter will be Mike Schmidt, future Hall of Famer. They'll be retiring his number someday in Philadelphia, along with Ricky Ashburn and Robin Roberts. And Fran Healy was leaning as Gooden checked him at first base.
Fran, I was talking to Davey before the game, and he said, you know, I've got to play Kevin Mitchell. I've got to play Barry Lyons. They're up here. I've got to rest Gary Carter. And when you do, who are you going to do it with? Are you going to do it with Gooden, who has overpowering stuff and doesn't need as good a defense as most pitchers? on the Mets staff, or most pitchers in baseball. You have to do it sometime. You got to give these guys a chance to play.
This is a good time to do it.
I agree.
And, of course,
totally.
Gooden's in control of his game, whoever's catching him. As Mike Schmidt takes a strike, no balls and one strike. Mike Schmidt, 1980 MVP in the World Series when the Phillies beat the Kansas City Royals 4-2, the only world championship for the Phillies in 104 years. The 0-1 pitch to Mike, up high, 1-1.
One of the key things about that Von Hayes at bat was that he took the 1-1 fastball, giving Thompson a chance to steal second and go to third, and then with the count 1-2, fought that high fastball off. That was an excellent at bat by Von Hayes.
And as you mentioned, they had to bring the infield in, gives the hitter even more confidence. He's leaning, not going as Mike Schmidt goes to a fastball. 1-2. We have one man down here at Shea Stadium. It's on top of the sixth.
This is some gas right here, right down the middle. 95 miles an hour, some heat.
Not too many guys that throw that pitch by Mike Schmidt. 1-2 on the Philly third baseman. 2-1. Phil's on top of the Mets here in the top of the sixth. Dwight Gooden checks Von Hayes at first base. Gooden looking in for signs from Barry Lyons, but as I mentioned, Gooden's in charge of this ball game. Von Hayes last year with 21 stolen bases, the year before 48. There he goes, up high, ball 3 to throw to second. It bounces, and Tuffle keeps the ball in front of him. So Von Hayes is down on second base with a stolen base.
Well, Milt Thompson had an excellent jump, but Von Hayes didn't. But Barry Lyons, his throw, a good pitch to handle, but the throw in the dirt. Tuffle does a nice job keeping it out in front of him. But that Philly speed again. These guys can run with the Cardinals.
That's right.
The only problem they have is they don't have the on-base percentage or the on-base potential that the Cardinals have.
They're 10 out of 11 this year in stolen bases.
Got to watch Hayes again because he loves to steal third base, and third base is an easier base to steal off a catcher and a pitcher, even though it's a shorter throw from the catcher. But the difference is you have no one holding you on at second base.
And if you look at Santana, he's way off the back. Tuffle's going to fake a little bit, but that doesn't disturb you as much as the shortstop. And Mike Schmidt takes inside, full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes.
That's because you can see the second baseman, but you can't see the shortstop because he's behind you.
I like it when the shortstop defensively is getting over there and making a lot of noise. Just to distract, break the concentration of the base runner.
Yeah, you can't do it with Schmidt up,
That's
though.
right.
And you got to protect against the hole, and it's up to Tuffle to hold him on.
So easier to steal the base. It looked like he was going to take off, but he holds his ground. And Mike Schmidt at the ground ball. They played him perfectly. Santana to first, score at 6-3, 2 outs. That's why they played Mike Schmidt to pull.
Exactly, and that's why Santana couldn't hold the runner at second base on, and it was left to Tuffle. There's Santana. Strong throw, and Hayes has to remain at second.
And if they don't play Schmidt to pull, that's a tough play for shortstop going in a hole. That'll determine whether or not you stay at shortstop, the ball you have to go into the hole for. You can't make the play, you're not going to be at shortstop. The batter now, Glenn Wilson, 2 outs. Wilson 1 for 2 in this game, an infield hit, and he takes down low, ball 1. In fact, his infield hit drove in the first Philly run, scoring Gary Reedus, who was on third base after doubling to lead off the first. Big man down on second base with 2 outs. 1 ball, no strike count on Glenn Wilson. 1-1. Wilson having an outstanding season for the Phillies last year. Came over in the trade for Willie Hernandez from the Tigers. Throws in 102 runs for the Phillies last year. That is 275. He takes up high, 2 balls and 1 strike. Darren Dalton, fine young catcher with the Phillies, will follow Wilson. And get a shot at Barry Lyons flashing signs with the runner on second base.
Good fastball right there. And they got Von Hayes hung up. Throw to second. Not in time. Von Hayes caught leaning at second base because he's trying for that extra jump. Now Barry Lyons catches the ball in his squat. You got to anticipate every time, and he throws late to second, and Hayes gets back. He made the right play coming out of the squat and running at Hayes to freeze him, but he took too long to throw it to second. When he started that throw, I believe Hayes thought he had him. I think Hayes might have been leaning again. That's why Lyons held on to the ball. But anyway, no harm done as Dwight Gooden throws that fastball right by Glenn Wilson. And that'll do it for the Phillies here in the 6th inning. But they pick up a run. And at the end of 5.5 innings of play, that's the score. Phillies 2, Mets 1. Well, Sports Channel will get it. Well, leading off for the Mets here in the bottom of the 6th inning, Dwight Gooden. Phillies 2, Mets 1. 4 hits in this game for the Phillies, only 1 for the Mets so far. Shane Rawley throws that fastball and Gooden fouls it off. Strike 1. Way inside, 1-1. That is a very interesting pitch right there. There's bad blood between these two ball clubs. And it's been written up, and that appeared to be a knockdown pitch. And I'll tell you one thing, if you get in a knockdown war with this guy, I know which side I'd want to be on. Now look at that pitch. Rawley's been away. Why he did that, I don't know. I mean, he hadn't come inside but the one hitter today, and obviously it wasn't to breeze anybody. And Gooden at the ground ball, base hit. So much for knocking Dwight Gooden back or down. That's right, Dwight Gooden swinging the bat very well. Loves to hit. 21 hits last year and his first one this year. Those 21 hits more than any other Met pitcher in their history. Only the second Met hit of the game. He's breaking all kinds of records. Defensively, offensively. Now what do? Do you bunt here? Kevin Mitchell, the batter, 0 for 2 in this game. See, we talked about that first pitch before. He took it right there for a strike. Probably had a chat with Davey Johnson and Bill Robinson. But now you're forced to take the third time up. You're taking a pitch with one man on. That's an entirely different deal. I'd give consideration to a punt. Outside, 1-1. That's the one thing. Davey Johnson, I agree with you, Fran, but Davey Johnson has so much confidence in his young players. And that's why he's gotten great results out of them. And Kevin Mitchell hits a shot to the gap. Forget the punt. The ball's all the way to the wall. Dwight Gooden he's going to try to score. The throw to the plate. Not in time. It's tied at 2. See him nod his head. The slider, after it's seen a couple of pitches now, and there's a big difference in that. I mean, this is a rocket over the head of Milt Thompson. A good play by third base coach Bud Harrelson by sending Gooden. The throw's laid home. A good play by Johnson. See, there are a lot, I'm saying that kind of tongue-in-cheek, but there are a lot more guys involved than the 9 guys playing on the field. Third base coach and manager throw up the line and high, and Gooden is in there. It's a 2-2 game. This is a good game. Oh, this is an excellent ball game. Dwight Gooden, after running the bases, and the first baseman, third baseman in, second baseman, shortstop back, and the batter Tim Kuffel takes the strike from Shane Rawley. You know, Tim, you mentioned interesting point. Davey Johnson probably has more confidence in his young players than any manager in baseball with young players. I agree. In fact, usually managers are toughest on young players. Leo DeRocher was. And Kuffel hits a high fly ball to center field. Milt Thompson is there, shading his eyes from the sun, and he makes the catch.
Kevin Mitchell tagged on second base and faked towards third. Good strong throw from Milt Thompson. And here's a graphic for you, Tim. Second major league RBI and first this season, and a biggie.
Well, he had his first major league hit against the Phillies, and Steve Carlson had his first major league RBI against the Phillies. He had his second major league RBI against the Phillies.
I like hitting against the Phillies. Here's a guy who likes hitting against anybody. Keith Hernandez. Hernandez in this ball game, 0 for 2, fly to center field, grounded to second base. One man out, and Rawley's first pitch up high, ball one. Four hits in his game for the Phils, 3 for the Mets. Hernandez pops the ball up foul territory. Mike Schmidt roams over there. He has room, but ball hits off his glove. He's worried about that tarp right near him. And new life for Keith Hernandez.
Well, it was a tough play. He did have it, but unusually, in last night's game, in the 7th inning, Mike Schmidt, as Ralph Kiner alluded to earlier, missed a pop fly, and who was the batter but Keith Hernandez? He responded with a base hit, and the Mets ended up scoring 2 runs on George Foster's single. Larry Anderson now warming, so we'll see what Keith does here.
And the 1-1 pitch, and Keith Hernandez hits a fly ball right field. Glenn Wilson's there, and he makes the catch. 2 outs.
Now what do? Walk Carter and pitch to Darryl Strawberry?
Yep, I would, without a doubt.
See that mud patch that Gary's got right on his stomach? That was the first run that was scored by the Mets in the 5th inning, when he slid into Darren Dalton after a super base running play, and I cannot believe they're pitching to Carter in this situation.
Well, we'll see.
You see him point to his head. He said, use your head. If you use your head, you're going to walk him.
Yeah, pitching around somebody's dangerous, but they didn't pitch around him right there. Good pitchers pitch for a strike. If you can throw 3 of those pitches, you got a shot at him.
I don't leave it to chance.
No. Giving that target way down low and outside, and misses. 1-1. Rick Aguilera throwing in the Mets bullpen. Just loosening up. Kevin Mitchell on second base. 2 men out, the batter Gary Carter, and Rawley breaks from the rubber, sending Mitchell back to second base. Most frustrating thing a catcher can hear from a manager is pitch around him. Don't give him anything good to hit.
Oh, that's right on the corner there. 2 good pitches. That first one, as you said, Fran, this one right on the black. May have been outside just a little.
That's right.
But Darren Dalton was there, and usually if a pitcher hits the catcher's mitt just off the plate, you'll get that pitch. Here he comes again outside.
Especially if his body's out there. And Carter fouls the ball off. Easy a sign of a good hitter. They make that same pitcher's pitch, and he fouls it off. The guy who doesn't swing the bat quite as well takes it or swings over it. Carter's staying alive, as the song said. So 1 ball and 2 strikes from Gary Carter. On deck, Darryl Strawberry. You can look good or you can look real bad making this decision to pitch to Carter. The 1-2 pitch. Down low.
See, Dalton wanted to get away. You saw him go 1-3 and then inside. He wanted the slider inside, and Rawley said, not going to make a mistake inside with him. I'll stay away. Knowing Rawley wants to stay away, we'll see where Dalton goes.
You're talking about that ball inside. Carter's the type of guy that can muscle the ball over the infield if he's jammed.
See, he doesn't want to make a mistake with his second best pitch, and that's his slider. So I would say he's going to go with the heater away.
Whoop, we're being blocked out here.
They're going away again.
And a ground ball up the middle. Steve Jones bobbles the ball and throw to first. In time. As Gary Carter does a head-first slide, but they get Gary at first. Score at 6-3. That'll do it for the Mets here in the bottom of the 6th. They pick up a run, and at the end of 6 complete on the Sports Channel scoreboard, it's all tied at 2. Fans
Sports Channel's got a great lineup coming your way Thursday at 7:30. Tune into Nets Weekly Magazine for an in-depth look at the Nets as they make their way through the playoffs. At 8 o'clock, join Fran Healy on the pennant chase as he keeps you up to date on the big league news, the world of baseball. And at 8:30, the Mets are in St. Louis to take on the Cardinals. Catch all the action Thursday on Sports Channel, #1 in New York sports. And speaking of a great lineup, a guy who buoyed a great lineup in the late 40s, early 50s, the Pirates, here's Ralph Kiner. Ralph, good ball game, huh?
Great ball game, Tim, and right here it's a 2-2 game going in the 7th inning. A lot of excitement, and Davey Johnson looking at the scorebook.
Darren Dalton fouled one back. 0-1 to Darren, and a tight fastball. Did you think Shane Rawley's pitch to Dwight Gooden was a little message of some kind?
Well, he's had great control, and that pitch was off the plate inside, but I wouldn't fool with Gooden.
I wouldn't either. I'll tell you, as we said, if you get locked into a knockdown battle, he showed Bill Gullickson last year after Gullickson knocked down Carter what could happen when you mess with him. 1-2 to Dalton. Curveball outside, 2-2.
Good, you got a little Jerry Koosman in him. Koosman would retaliate about as well as anybody the Mets ever had.
You got to tell when we have time that story in '69 about Ron Santo. Pop fly in the infield, probably in foul territory, and it is. Hernandez, 1 out.
Mets were battling the Cubs in '69 right down to the wire, and Bill Hands was pitching for the Cubs, and he knocked Tommy Agee down, and I mean knocked him down. The hat came down about 2 minutes after his body hit the ground, and Sano was the first batter up in the next half inning, and Koosman let it fly, and if Sano hadn't got his hand up in front of his head, it would have hit him in the head, and it hit him in the hand. I thought he broke his hand, but it didn't, and he stayed in the ball game. And that was the end of the Leo DeRocher Intimidation Act. Yep. Leo was noted for that. Stick it in his ear was his famous remark.
Yes, sir. Here's Luis Aguayo, and he takes the curveball low.
Leo stood on that bench yelling, "Stick it in his ear," and that's all you could hear.
You think Stan Musial didn't have some stuck in his ear at Ebbets Field when Leo was the manager of the Dodgers? Stan Musial does not dislike a lot of people, but Leo DeRocher is one. Matter of fact, I don't know if Stan dislikes anybody but Leo DeRocher.
Stan's about as easygoing as you see, but he had a pretty good reason. They were walking him intentionally and knocked him down on all 4 pitches.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember reading about that. 2-1 to Aguayo. Of course, Stan only hit about .430 lifetime in Ebbets Field. Isn't that the ballpark in which he hit the 5 home runs in the doubleheader?
No, that was against the Giants.
That was in the Polo Grounds. Oh, in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the best part of that story was Horace Stoneman had Stan out almost all night long. Came out the ballpark for the doubleheader and hit 5 home runs. First man to ever do that.
If he hadn't been out all night long, it'd probably hit 7, I guess. 2-2 to Aguayo. 2-2 ball game. We're in the 7th. Curveball is high. 3-2.
Who was the big outfielder that did it for the San Diego Padres against the Atlanta Braves? Nate Colbert hit 5 home runs in the doubleheader. He had been in the stands watching Musial hit his 5.
Base hit down the left field line. It's going to be at least 2 for Aguayo. So Luis Aguayo, who had his first major league home run in this ballpark, gets another big hit for the Phillies. Only a second of the year.
Well, Aguayo takes that fastball right over the head of Ray Knight, who couldn't get up in time. Ball well hit. Carter playing in left field today gets it, but Aguayo ends up at second, so the go-ahead run at second with 1 out.
And the batter, Steve Jeltz. It was Jeltz's triple last year, or last week, I should say, last Saturday, that eventually led to the tying run, and the Phillies tied it. And, of course, they went on to win in the 13th inning of that 5-hour and 2-minute ball game last Saturday afternoon at the Vet in Philadelphia. 1-0 to Jeltz. He's 0 for 2 on the day. Shane Rawley on deck with 1 out. 2-2 game. The Phillies have 5 hits, and the Mets 3. Fastball high, so it's 2-0 to Steve Jeltz.
We are told that Dwight Gooden started the game around 95 miles an hour. Now he's down to 93. How would you like it in the 7th inning to weaken to 93 miles an hour? Fastball outside. 3-0 to Steve Joe. Maguire at second. Phillies scored 1 in the 1st and 1 in the 6th. The Mets with 1 in the 5th and 1 in the 6th. There's the strike.
Pitchers due up next for the Phillies, and they have action in their bullpen. Here's that last pitch. It was close. Right on the inside corner at the letters.
So it's 3-1. Jeltz will be swinging here. He likes the strike. And this one way high, so Dwight Gooden walks his first batter of the afternoon. And the Phillies have runners at first and second, and Shane Rawley will probably be up there to bunt, Ralph.
One man out. If he bunts, it would be to move 2 runners in the scoring position rather than have 1. Rawley, a good hitter, and a good hitter with men in scoring position.
Yes, he is. He had 16 hits for the Phillies last year, and he will have that hole on the left side to shoot for. Santana close at second with Aguayo, Ray Knight way in at third, so the hole is open. And he's bunting. And he gets it down, a nice bunt. Gooden will have to go to first. Out at first base, and Del Unser and Shane Rawley do not agree with Fred Brocklander, but that hesitation by Dwight Gooden almost cost him.
Well, that's a good bunt. Gooden, though, thought he had a play at third. He tries to barehand it. Takes a little too much time in picking it up after he dropped it, and then doesn't throw it real hard to first, and it almost cost him.
Close play at first. At first. What do you think?
Awful close. He just lobbed it over to first and fortunately got the call at first base as the runners do move up. So runners at second and third and 2 men out, and Gary Reedus up.
Reedus 1 for 3. He doubled to open the game and scored a run in the first. He has batted safely in every Philly game so far this season. Why in the world would you be taken in that situation with 2 men on?
Especially a fastball. You go up there looking for the fastball. If he throws a curve, then take it.
You mean to tell me you're spotting Dwight Gooden a strike?
No. Well, that's why he hit 250 last year.
252 for the Reds. 0-1 to Gary Reedus. Now a check swing, and he's really in the hole. 0-2.
They didn't even have to appeal that play. The home plate umpire called it a strike, so no appeal to Fred Brocklander. Here it is on the replay, out of the strike zone, but Reedus goes after it and now down on a 2-strike count. Two on, 2 out, 2-2 ball game in the 7th.
And he fouls it off.
Reedus got a good pitch to hit there with a 2-strike count. It was right down the heart of the plate, but behind it. Gooden's had 7 strikeouts in this ballgame. He's now passed Ryan for the lead in strikeouts in the National League. He has 19.
He's walked only 1. Strike 3, got him. And that's what we were talking about. Why spot a pitcher like Dwight Gooden at first strike? 8th strikeout for Gooden.
All fastballs to Reedus, 4 of them, and this one right on the outside corner, and Reedus couldn't pull the trigger. Big strikeout for Dwight Gooden.
No runs and a hit, and 2 left. After 6.5, it's 2-2. Well, fans, as you know, the 86th season marks the silver anniversary of the Mets franchise, and to commemorate this landmark anniversary, the Mets have put together a sleek 25th anniversary book entitled The New York Mets, the First Quarter Century. This is the official 25th anniversary book of the Mets, and it says so right on the cover. The book is hardbound volume of the Mets history, told in candid color, action-packed photographs, and engaging essay, compiled and written by baseball baseball's noted historian, Donald Honig. To get your copy of the Mets official 25th anniversary book, please send check or money order made payable to the New York Mets for $17.95 plus $3 for shipping and handling. And, of course, that's a total of $20.95. To Promotion Graphics, Department L, 160 Barrack Street, New York, New York, and there's your zip.
And while we got a moment, we'd like to remind you that the Pittsburgh Pirates will be here for a 2-game series this Monday and Tuesday night. On Monday night, it'll be Rick Aguilera on the mound against McWilliams. And then on Tuesday night, Bob Ojeda will be going for the Mets against Bob Kipper. Come on out to Shea and cheer the Mets on before they go on a 2-week road trip that will take them to St. Louis, Cincinnati, and also Atlanta.
Well, the fans are eating this game up, and it's understandable. Darryl Strawberry against Shane Rawley, 2-2, bottom of 7. He had breaking this tie on his mind with that swing. 0-1. Ball hit well down the right field line, but foul. He didn't even hit that ball well. Looked like a trademark shot, and it reached the seats. 0-2.
Now, Darryl Strawberry, with a total of 29 home runs last year, played in only 111 games, and that ball hit off the handle of the bat, in matter of speaking.
Darren Daulton should have no problems and doesn't with that foul ball. So Strawberry 0 for 3, and finding it tough to get out of the chute so far.
Yeah,
and about a Ray Knight.
Got a note here that David Walfer is sitting with Mr. Fred Wilpon, the president of the New York Mets, right next door to us.
All right, Fred's box right next to our booth here. Is Ray Knight in there? He's 1 for 2 and has really been swinging the bat well. 0-1.
Shane Rawley, a pilot in his off time, flies an airplane.
Got his pilot's license back in 1980. And he flew high last Sunday against the Mets as he beat them 4-2, 1-1 tonight.
It's a very strong game here.
That's an endearing hobby for a guy with a long-term contract, right? Owners just love to give pilots long-term contracts. To fly commercial planes or private planes, 1 and 2.
You think of Kenny Hubbs of the Cubs, who was killed in a private plane crash. Hubbs, an outstanding ball player, second baseman for the Cubs. I'd rather have him in the air than on the ground, though, riding motorcycles and things like that.
Oh, yeah. Motocross. That is, matter of fact, Mike Heath of the Cardinals is a motocross spectator.
Gladden actually rides motorcycles.
That's right. Mickey Lolich used to ride a motorcycle to the ballpark. Owners love that, too. 2 and 2 to Ray Knight.
Of course, Bob Feller flew airplanes all through his career as a ball player. In fact, I flew with him a couple of times.
Well, and of course, here in New York, the tragic death of Thurman Munson back when, 77, I guess, 78. Thurman died in a plane crash in Ohio. Base hit right field, and Knight continues to be hot. Sizzling. 2 for 3 on the afternoon. He's got a pair of home runs, 5 RBIs.
Ray got the game-winning RBI last night with a base hit to right field, and right here on that outside corner, he just attacked it. That's really a perfect hitting position right there for an outside pitch. Stays right on the ball, drives it right into right field.
And also good thinking on his part, because we've said many times with Barry Lyons fouling one back that with 2 strikes, you got to protect that outside part of the plate.
2 types of hitting. One when you don't have 2 strikes, the other gets defensive. When you get down to 2 strikes, you try to make contact with the ball.
That's exactly what Ray Knight did. 0-1 to Barry Lyons. 1 out, 2-2, bottom of 7.
and it's 0-2. Lyons 0 for 2, but he did pick up his first Major League RBI as Larry Anderson, the right-hander, and David Rucker, the left-hander.
He got a little help from the pitcher, Shane Rawley, who had him trapped off between third, not Lyons, but the runner Carter.
And Lyons goes down on strikes. Good fastball right there.
Rawley getting his second strikeout of the ball game. He's walked only 2, and he's held the Mets to 4 base hits. And now with 2 men out, the batter would be Rafael Santana.
Santana 0 for 2 on the afternoon. And he loops one to center. Milt Thompson there, however, and he makes the catch. Boy, he can cover a lot of ground in a hurry. No runs, a hit, and 1 left. 39,058 look on, and a good ball game after 7. Well, top of the 8th inning, a good ball game, and Ralph, as you said, David Walper next door with Fred Wilpon.
Get him to move the production of that great extravaganza that's going to be held in the Statue of Liberty to when we're in town. We're going to be out of town when that goes on.
Yep, that will be, of course, July the 4th. And where will the Mets be? We will be in town.
No, we're leaving, aren't we?
No, we're playing that day. Playing that day
we
against
come
the
back from St. Louis.
Houston Astros, coming back from St. Louis.
Oh, we can get the day off. I'm sure Fred will let us go out there.
And Milt Thompson tries to punt, but it was a ball, 1-0. David Wolper also, Fran Healy tells us, and he was correct, reminding us that David Wolper produced the Olympics back in 1984. Big baseball fan, and an even bigger baseball fan, had something to do with the Olympics also, didn't he?
Commissioner of Baseball, Mr. Uberoff.
Peter Uberoff. 1-1 to Milt Thompson. And 2-1 to Milt. Milt 0 for 3 with a run scored, but it was his speed on an error by Tim Tuffle that opened the gates to a lonely run in the 6th. Then he stole second base, and on a throwing error by Barry Lyons, went to third and scored on Von Hayes' single. 2-1. Grounded up the middle, base hit for Milt Thompson. I think by that swing, it's quite evident that Gooden's low fastball much easier to handle than the high one.
6th base hit given up by Dwight in this game. His first 3 were in the first inning when Philadelphia took a 1-0 lead. You can look for Milt Thompson to be running this. Phillies have been successful in their last 10 attempts in stolen bases. They're 10 out of 11 for the year.
Von Hayes 1 for 3 and an RBI. He has struck out twice. Also has a stolen base to his credit. Now, Fran and I, last time Thompson was on first base, as you see Hayes take a strike, saw that when he didn't wiggle his fingers, he was running. Now, he wiggled his fingers there. We might be onto something, pal.
Got a tip-off right here. That's been known to happen. He's wiggling his fingers.
And he's not running. And Hayes pops it up. It might be out of play. But Lyons will have room. And Thompson tagging up, and a very unhappy Von Hayes back to the bench. 1 out. Say that kind of in jest, but a lot of times base runners will do that subconsciously.
The next batter, third baseman Mike Smith.
Guys on the bench constantly looking for little things like that. And we are by no means saying that Milt Thompson certainly is running when his fingers don't wiggle. And when they wiggle, he's not running. We're not saying that at all. Mike Schmidt, the batter. Thompson can fly. Let's see about his hands right now. There they go. And Gooden goes over there.
Phillies have had 2 stolen bases in this game. The pickoff try by Gooden is a good one. Really good throw there.
fingers are wiggling. And, of course, as we said the last time he was on first, that's what Ricky Henderson does. Ricky Henderson with 130 stolen bases 3 years ago, the most ever by a Major League player. Got to be fun hitting out of that shadow off a guy who throws 93 miles an hour.
That ball comes out of that sunlight, it disappears in the dark. You know, strange enough, I've always found that the shadow was much tougher on a curveball than a fastball.
Well, Thompson not running and his fingers wiggling.
Curveball moves through that bright to dark, and it's harder to follow than the fastball, which you pick up off the delivery, and it usually stays in about the same plane.
Let's watch Thompson. Barry Lyons would have an easier time with Schmidt up there because Fran Healy was a left-hander, and it's a lot tougher throwing with a left-handed hitter up there. 2-2 game, top of the 8th, 1 out. Wanted to get back to first, but it's 2-0 to Mike Schmidt. Good and effective with those throws over there to first base. Schmidt with 460 lifetime homers, 41 against the Mets. Hands are not wiggling, and Thompson's not running. Well said, Terry. You were just waiting to hop on that.
I wanted to get that one.
I'm glad I gave that disclaimer that we were certainly not saying that. 2-1 to Schmidt.
I noticed you protected yourself. There's the line score of this ball game. A fantastic game.
Really is. Popped up in the infield. Ray Knight in. And he makes the catch. 2 out. So after a leadoff single by Milt Thompson, Hayes and Schmidt pop up in foul territory, and the batter will be Glenn Wilson. And I think Thompson's waited long enough. What do you think, Ralph?
He's going to be going. 2 men away. Wilson in this game has had an infield hit. It drove in a run. That was back in the first inning. He also has grounded out and struck out.
We mentioned the Cardinals earlier, and Mike Heath, they are losing to the Expos 4-3, top of the 8th inning. And the hands aren't wiggling. He's back to first.
As a catcher here, Tim,
I might pitch out.
I was going to say, why not pitch out?
Yeah, I agree with you.
And when you pitch out, come to the plate. Don't throw to first base.
He's not running. Wilson fouls it back. So it's 0-1.
Now's a good time to pitch out.
You don't fall behind, of course, and Thompson, as we said, is getting very antsy at first base.
They didn't get him to hit a home run.
Did hit a home run, however, in last night's ball game. First run the Phillies scored on a split-finger fastball off Ron Darling. Only his 3rd Major League home run. And this one off the chest protector of home plate umpire Ed Montague. 0-2 to Glenn Wilson. Gooden with 8 strikeouts, and the crowd wants another one here. There goes Thompson. Fastball is low. The throw is low. Safe at second.
Well, an ideal time to call a pitch out with a 2-strike count.
Yeah, it was.
And the Mets don't call for it. Thompson again with a stolen base, his second of this ball game. Tough pitch to handle. Another bad throw by Lyons. He's made 3 bad throws in this ball game.
And in fairness to Barry, the second runner, or Von Hayes, the second stolen base, he did have a legitimate shot at him then, but on Thompson's 2 stolen bases, no shot. So it's 1-2 to Wilson, 2 out, top of the 8th, and the score tied 2-2. Twos all over the place. 2-2, 2 outs, 2-2 game. Runner at second, 2 errors for the Mets, and 2 guys in the booth.
A whole bunch of Ks, 8 of them to be exact.
4 times 2. 2 walks in the game. And Wilson fouls it off. Over near those 2 cameramen down near the Philadelphia Phillies locker room.
And that's too much. I thought your remark about Gooden and the pitcher Rawley a good one, was a shine.
Rawley a good one, right?
Rawley a good one is a shame.
Yeah, that's right. You went to London. You were an Englander for some time this last fall.
Enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it.
Beautiful city. Well, you know the count. You know how many outs there are. Thompson at second. Top of the 8th. And it's 3-2 to Glenn Wilson.
On deck batter, a left-hand batter, Darren Dalton. There's Dalton.
Gooden could lock Wilson with a good curveball. We'll see what he gets. First base open. Curveball, check swing. Mitchell makes the catch. Kevin Mitchell makes a fine running catch in center field on a check swing that I thought initially was going to be in there. But Gooden pitches out of it. Gives up a hit, stands the runner after 7.5. It's 2-2. Dwight Gooden will bat for himself here in the bottom of the 8th inning. And let's recap the scoring of this game. Gary Rita scored the first run of the game in the first. The Mets tied it. And the bottom of the 5th, good base running and an RBI infield out by Gary Carter. Phillies took the lead again 2-1 in the 6th, and the Mets came back to tie it in the bottom of the 6th, and that's where we are.
And in the bottom of the 6th, the leadoff batter was Dwight Gooden. Dwight singled the left field and scored on a double by Kevin Mitchell.
Kevin's second Major League RBI, and he pops this one up. Steve Joe, 1 out. So, top of the order, here's Kevin Mitchell. And he gets a nice hand. Mitchell led the Mets in RBIs this spring with 14. He had a marvelous spring, 3 home runs. He is built like a bull.
Built like a 747.
That's his nickname. And it's 1-0 to Kevin Mitchell. 2-0.
Mets signed Mitchell as a free agent. He wasn't drafted out of Claremont High School in San Diego, a mecca of outstanding talent coming out of that area.
Ground ball, base hit. That's at Garden the line. Fran Healy on the line at first base. And that allowed Mitchell's ball to go through, and he's at first with 1 out.
Well, Tim McCarver first broadcast for the Philadelphia Phillies with his cohorts over there, and that was one of the things that Tim has been against for years, is having that first baseman and third baseman guarding the line. Here's the swing as Mitchell hits it by the first baseman, Von Hayes, who was guarding the line to protect against the 2-base hit. Instead, he gives up the single, and the Mets have the go-ahead run on with no one out here in the bottom half of the 8th.
And Tim Tuffle, the batter, and
Ralph, it's just that I've seen that play backfire so many times.
Especially on the opposite side, a right-hand batter.
Yeah, right. And Tim Tuffle, who is 0 for his last 7, 0 for 3 in this game. He had a tough night last night trying to break out of a little mini slump here.
He had a great spring and then got started very slowly. Got robbed of a base hit back in the 4th inning.
On a fine play by Steve Jeltz. And Tim in the hole. Shane Rawley, 4-1 lifetime against the Phillies. Kevin Mitchell with average speed at best at first base. He had 3 stolen bases last year at Tidewater. Fly ball, right center. An easy play for Milt Thompson. And they're 2 out.
At the plate, first baseman Keith Hernandez.
Keith Hernandez 0 for 3. Slide to center, grounded to second, and slide to right. Tried the heater inside, 1-0. Tim McCarver along with Ralph Kiner and Fran Healy, and as always, Fran will be down with a post-game guest after the game today. Mets trying to win their 4th game of the year. Fastball. This is a high strike, 1-1. How about those Pirates who were in here Monday night?
4 straight.
They're 4-2. Lost 104 games last year. And
Like that.
I do, yeah.
I saw a player swing at one of those things.
Oh, I wanted to do that. Check this out.
He throws the ball in for the umpire. It's right at Keith, so he barehands it. But I actually saw a player swing and hit a ball of a costume with timeout. Hit it out the outfield.
The outfielder caught it for no play. He hit this one up the middle, and that one counts. Mitchell at second will return, so he's in scoring position. Hernandez has his first hit of the afternoon, and the batter, Gary Carter.
Well, Keith had 5 hits in his last 10 at-bats before this ball game. Now he gets his first hit of this game, so he's 6 for 14. That puts the go-ahead run at second. And Keith, as he brought that back foot up to balance out that swing, comes up with a big base hit.
I think Felske's going to make a move here, Ralph.
Well, the right-hand batter coming up, Gary Carter. And Felske out to the mound.
John Felske, the second-year manager of the Phillies, looks like he wants to make a move, and he just did. And you really can't blame him. That's the reason Bedrosian's on this club, right?
He's got the hard-throwing Steve Bedrosian in the bullpen, and the bearded one comes in. He's been clocked at 95 miles an hour, came to the Philadelphia Phillies from Atlanta, and he will be in the ball game with Rawley going out after 7 2/3 innings. So far charged with 2 runs on 6 hits. He struck out 2 and walked 1, and he had a perfect game going to the 5th inning. The Mets did not have a base runner through the first 4 innings. Gary Carter led off the 5th with a walk, and then the Mets got their first hit as Ray Knight singled to left field, and that set up the Mets' tying run of the ball game. So Bedrosian coming in the ball game. He has a record of 1 win and 1 loss, a very high ERA of 9. This will be his 4th ball game, all in relief. He's worked 4 innings. He's given up 6 hits while striking out 2.
And a tough year last year for Steve. He was 7-15 in 37 games started. It's tough to make a short reliever, especially a 1-speed pitcher, and that's what Bedrosian is. He throws awfully hard. Good fastball, good slider. And he came to the Phillies along with Milt Thompson for Ozzie Virgil. Winner. Bedrock is his nickname. He's tough as a fast food steak.
Comes from Maine. Was a wrestler in college, played soccer. Was a starting pitcher in the minor leagues with only one relief appearance in 82 games in the minors. And came up and became a relief pitcher.
Well, folks, tomorrow at 5:30, the Nets take on the Milwaukee Bucks in Game 2 of the exciting NBA playoff basketball schedule. Catch all the action. The Nets and the Bucks tomorrow at 5:30, only on Sportschannel, #1 in New York sports. Some games not available in all areas. Shane Rawley pitched 7 2/3 innings, and he gave up 6 hits and 2 runs. However, Kevin Mitchell at second and Keith Hernandez at first will be charged to Rawley should they score. So a fine job by Shane Rawley. And there's the story of the afternoon, 2-2. Gary Carter is 0 for 2. He has walked, scored a run, and grounded out twice.
And you can see why he scored that run and how right on that uniform.
Belly flopper. Darryl Strawberry on deck. Mano a mano right here. 1-on-1. Fastball inside. 1-0. Bedrosian had 19 saves in 1983. Darren Dalton out to talk to Steve. And Bedrosian's first save came against the Mets back in 1982. Gary Carter.
Gary brought a 5-game inning streak into this game with 8 hits over the 5 games, batting .364 if you look at the manager of the Phillies.
3-0. You have him hit here?
I would have him hit here. Object of the game is to score a run. You got your best RBI man off last year at the plate. Runners at first and second. Strawberry on deck. Hit away.
And a fastball right on the corner. Carter was hitting.
And a good pitch to take. That pitch you can't handle, and the veteran pitcher getting the strike here, and the veteran hitter letting him have the strike. You can't do anything with that pitch when you have the count that way. You want it right in your alley.
Good slider right there. 3-2. So the runners will be off.
2 perfect pitches by Bedrosian.
After going 3-0, and none of the pitches were even close.
Look at this.
He does this.
Slider right there on the outside corner to knee.
Well, that was nasty there.
Now make the mistake Carter is saying to himself. I'll give you those 2.
There go the runners. Line drive, base hit, right center field. Mitchell scores. Mets on top, 3-2. Carter went to school on that 3-1 slider, didn't he? Just like you do on my putting stroke.
Well, a professional piece of hitting by Gary Carter puts the Mets up 3-2 in the bottom of the 8th inning. After 2 perfect pitches, Carter adjusted, went defensive, took the outside fastball to right field to drive in the go-ahead run.
Strawberry takes the slider inside. Mets grab the lead for the first time in this game, 3-2. 2-0. Hernandez and Carter on the corners. Kind of to sniffing out a good swing right here. Strawberry will leave his feet on this swing, but it wasn't a strike. 3-0. Now do you have him hit?
You better believe it.
Yes, sir. In a minute. Ray Knight on deck. And it's low. It didn't look like Bedrosian really wanted to pitch to Strawberry. Ray Knight's going to be the batter.
Third baseman, Ray Knight.
Well, this is certainly the best ball game of the early season. Dwight Gooden needs 3 more outs, but the Mets want some more runs. Knight 2 for 3. Slider is outside, and Steve Bedrosian cannot find the plate. He went 3-0 to Gary Carter, and Gary singled on a 3-2 pitch. He walked Strawberry on 4 pitches, and now it's 1-0 to Knight. Bases loaded. Strike on the corner. Knight does not agree, but it's 1-1.
Bedrosian happy with that call. Montague calling that pitch a strike, although it appeared it was off the outside part.
Slider way outside, 1-1. Or make that 2-1. We got a dandy on our hands here at Shea. Slider is outside, 3-1 to Ray Knight.
This is what gets the managers.
That's a strike, and that, I believe, was a genuine strike right there. 3-2 tonight. Now we'll see if Bedrosian works from the stretch or not.
This ball right on the outside corner. Fastball backing up, and another perfect pitch. Very good pitch for that count. It goes now to 3-2, so the runners will be going with the pitch.
Looks like Bedrosian's going to wind up. He should be stretching. Otherwise, he's going to give Strawberry a chance to score on a long single or a short double. He's not, and there they go. Lined out of Aguayo at second base. Ray Knight hit it well, but right at Louis Aguayo. But the Mets take the lead on 3 base hits, a big hit, an RBI single by Gary Carter. The Mets lead 3-2 after 8. Well, make that Kevin Mitchell has moved from center to left field. And there's Len Dykstra. He is the new center fielder. Gary Carter will be the new catcher, so Barry Lyons is out of there. Carter behind the plate. And in the Philly ninth, with Dwight Gooden still on the mound, Darren Dalton, Luis Aguayo, or a pinch hitter, and Steve Jeltz. And then Steve Bedrosian. Shane Rawley, should the Mets hold the lead, stands to be the losing pitcher, but I'll tell you, he has worked himself into being a heck of a major league pitcher. 13-8 last year, and came over to the Phillies for Marty Bystrom in a good trade by the Phils.
Very good trade. Bystrom going to the Yankees, not doing too well.
Marty, I believe, he went also Keith Hughes, an infielder. But Marty Bystrom in the minor leagues now, pitching for Columbus, the AAA affiliate of the Yankees.
It's an amazing stat right there.
What a great stat. Oh, man, you talk about a telling stat. About a man who can reach back. That is Dwight Gooden, and a curveball is low. In Gooden's last 46 starts, he's 33-5. That's right.
1.46 ERA.
1-1 to Darren Dalton. He has a couple of homers, very strong, and can hit it a long way. He's 0 for 3. Grounded toward first. There's Hernandez. Notice he is not on the line. 1 out.
And even against a pull hitter like Dalton. Right here, a good swing by Dalton. He just gets the top of the ball, though, and it's down to Keith, who makes the play by himself.
In fairness to that theory, however, Keith Hernandez has such marvelous agility to his left and right. You don't really need to play him there. He's checking with Davy Johnson. And Greg Gross is going to be the pinch hitter for Luis Aguayo.
And let's check out how the Mets defense plays in. This fellow does not ever, and seldom, if you want to make all kinds of qualifications, pull a ball. It's everything to left field. Had 5 home runs here 1 year with the Cubs, and that's it.
And that's how the Mets are playing him. Way around like a left-handed pull hitter. Ray Knight on the line, and that is proper. So in our opinion, and we've talked about this a million times in the press room after games, it's not that you never guard the line, but you don't do it all the time. 1-1 to Gross. Greg led the National League in pinch hits in 1983, was 19. Make that 82. Swing and a miss. Oh, and make that 1 and 2 to Greg Gross.
Coming into the season, he had 95 pinch hits. And right here, a very good fastball in a good spot against a fellow who likes the ball away. He likes to hit it to left over the shortstop there.
Santana over in the hole, and he should be there. As Ralph said, Gross hits the ball the other way. 2 and 2. Tight, 3 and 2. Gooden has struck out 8 and walked only 1. And he walked his second batter of the afternoon. Greg Gross does not run well. However, you wonder whether the Phillies do have a pinch runner. Charles Hudson, one of the fastest runners on the ball club, do have Greg Legg, as Ralph pointed out. He'd be a perfect pinch runner, Greg Legg. And, of course, he's in the ball game anyway because of Aguayo. We don't know how the speed of Greg Legg. As Steve Jeltz takes strike 1. Jeltz 0 for 2 with a walk. But really, should the Phillies go into the bottom of the 9th, I would assume Legg runs better than Gross, who has no speed. So why not pinch run right now? Joe LaFay, the pinch hitter on deck. 0-2 to Jeltz. There's Joe, former Yankee, former Padre, Joe LaFay. It's a 3-2 game. The Mets lead, but the Phillies have runners on a runner on first base with 1 out, top of the 9th inning. And it's 1-2 to Steve Jeltz.
No one throwing in the bullpen for the Mets, which is the way Davy Johnson plans it. He does not want to take Gooden out of the ball game unless there is a really direct reason.
And Jesse Orozco worked 2 innings last night. There's no sense in getting him up, even if it's just to throw lightly, unless you're going to bring him in the game. And with Gooden out there, as Ralph said, Davey does not want to use him.
Gooden has never pitched more than 9 innings in a ball game in his major league career, so if he does get the game tied up, then what do you do?
Swing and a miss, his 9th strikeout of the day. 2 out.
All right, here Dwight goes to his fastball. He had struck out Jeltz on the fastball back in the 2nd inning. And so Dwight, with his all-time high for this year, 9 strikeouts, he has a total of of 21 now, and that leads the National League. Ryan was the leader coming into this ball game with 18. Nolan Ryan.
So the batter is Joe LaFay, and he can hit the ball a long way. Joe LaFay, and let's see when his last home run was. Back in 1984. Did not play the entire 85 season. Fastball is high, 1-0.
In fact, he hit a home run in his first 2 ball games in the major leagues while with the Yankees.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that now. Not too many guys have done that.
He was the first to do it in the American League.
Told you not too many guys have done it.
The only man that hit 2 home runs in his first game in the major leagues was Bob Neiman, playing for the St. Louis Browns.
Burley Bob, who passed away sorrowfully last year.
First 2 at bats.
Ex-teammate of mine.
Then Campaneris hit one in his first and 4th at bat.
Swing and a miss. 1-2 to Joe LaFay. Looks like Dwight's going to the whip, Mr. Kiner.
That 9th inning stat, pretty prominent. 3 runs in his career scored against him in the 9th inning.
And it's still 3 runs. 10 strikeouts for Gooden as he wins the 2nd game of the year. The line score on the game, 3-7, 2 errors for the Mets, 2-6-0 for the Phillies. The winning pitcher, Dwight Gooden, he's 2-0. And the loser, Shane Rawley, he's 1-1. A marvelous ball game. Our 2nd broadcast here on Sports Channel, and it was a beauty. Ralph Kiner and I will be back with a wrap-up right after this.
Now that's a copier.
Well, the New York Mets won it by a score of 3-2. The Philadelphia Phillies got the early lead in the first inning on a double by Reedus and 2 infield base hits. They led 1-0. The Mets didn't have a base runner until Carter walked. That was in the 5th inning. Carter later on scored to tie it up. And then the Mets got into another tie at 2-2 and won it in the 8th inning when Mitchell led off with a single, went to second base in a single by Hernandez. And then Carter came through with a 3-2 base hit to right field off Bedrock. Bedrosian, and the Mets won the ball game by a score of 3-2. Gooden, his best so far this year, 10 strikeouts, and even though he gave up 2 runs, one of them unearned, he looked like the Dwight Gooden of the first 2 years of his major league career.
He certainly did. He was really blowing today. I think in this his 3rd start of the season, he was really airing it out, especially in the early inning. And even though the Phillies got a tainted run in the first, he was throwing very, very hard. Kind of struggle there toward the end, but a struggle for Dwight Gooden is not really a struggle, and we've come to learn that. 10 strikeouts, a marvelous ball game by Gary Carter. Great base running to score the first run of the game, and of course Gary Carter with the first game-winning RBI that he has in 1986.
Gooden struck out the side in the first inning, though he gave up 1 run, and then he closed out by striking out at 9th and 10th batters in that 9th inning. We'll be back with more of the wrap-up in just a moment, right after this commercial message.
In 1985, Gary Carter was an offensive powerhouse, smashing 32 homers and racking up 100 RBIs. What does Gary see for the 86 season?
Going into this season and coming off of last year, I know that I can't afford another knee surgery. Dr. Parks assures me that from time to time you'll feel some discomfort and all in it, but not to get too discouraged on it and just go out there and do the best you can.
Get to know Gary Carter on Sports Channel.
Well, the Mets 3 and the Philadelphia Phillies 2, and the Mets will be taking on the Philadelphia Phillies tomorrow afternoon. It'll be Sid Fernandez on the mound against Kevin Gross. And again, the doctor in fine state here in this ball game as he struck out 10 to win his 2nd ball game of the year. And he gets his 2nd complete game. He's now tied with Oral Hershiser of the Dodgers for the most complete games in this early season.
And first Major League RBI by Barry Lyons today, and the 2nd RBI that tied the ball game by Kevin Mitchell in a situation that if Davey Johnson would have bunted with Kevin Mitchell, I mean, nobody would have said anything. but the Mets wouldn't have scored a run because Tim Tuffle and Keith Hernandez made out. But as Fran and I and Ralph, of course, talked about, Kevin Mitchell delivered with the double, and another example of when Davy Johnson decides to do something, he does it. He doesn't care who criticizes.
Yeah, he plays his own ball game.
Indeed,
there's no doubt about that. In the fifth inning, a big break in the ball game with Barry Lyons at the plate. He smashed one back up the middle. It hit the pitcher Rawley on the leg, dropped down in front of him. Rawley got to the ball, picked it up, looked at Carter, who was halfway between third and home, did not throw to hang him up through the first base. They got the out at first. Carter then came in to score a run, and that was the first run for the Mets. That came in the fifth inning. That was a big play in the ball game.
It really was. And what happened on that? Von Hayes, the first baseman, threw the ball high to Darren Dalton, and that took the weight off his left leg. Otherwise, Gary not only could possibly have been barred from scoring, but he could have been injured on the play, because when the catcher has his weight on the left leg, you can't penetrate and you can't score, and that's how you block the plate. But the throw pulled him up and consequently took the weight off the left leg.
And Carter also made a belly slide in there where he really could have been hurt if that had been a blocked situation at home plate. So it's Gooden with a record now of 2-0. The winning pitcher, Rawley the loser, 1-1. The Mets winning by a score of 3-2. Once again, the New York Mets 3 and the Philadelphia Phillies 2.
And fans, remember to stay tuned for the Mets postgame show coming up next right here on Sports Channel, #1 in New York sports. Good day, everybody.
New York Mets baseball has been brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By your New York, New Jersey Buick dealers. If you've never thought about a Buick like this before, the time is now. By Texaco and its 18,000 retailers and 55,000 employees. Texaco, working to keep your trust for 84 years. By your Toyota dealer and the Toyota Celica. Performance and style that'll make you look real good. Who could ask for anything more? By Manufacturers Hanover, the financial source worldwide. And by TWA, in coach, business class, or first class. Let TWA show you a whole new world.
Well, welcome to the New York Mets postgame show. I'm Fran Healy, and my guest in the postgame show, an everyday catcher that moved to left field today, Gary Carter. Gary, how did it feel?
Well, it felt great out there, really, Fran. It was like a day off to begin with, and as dirty as I am, everybody say a nice day off today. But it was fun. I think it's a challenge going out there to another position, and you get a little bit more fired up, change the pattern of everyday play, get back behind the plate. And with Dwight on the mound, I thought it was a good day for Barry Lyons to get initiated, so I had some fun. 2 balls out there, I didn't look too bad.
I want to ask you some more questions about playing left field, but right now we're going to put on tape, well, we have on tape your base hit, the game-winning RBI, so why don't you describe it for us?
All right. Well, Steve had gotten behind 3-0, and then he threw a 3-0 pitch that was right on the corner, then the 3-0 or 3-1 slider, which was nasty, and then he come back with a 3-2 fastball out away from me, and all I could think about was just trying to make contact and drive the ball to right center.
Okay, that's interesting, talking about making contact. You're a home run hitter. You're known as a power hitter, yet you're also a very difficult guy to strike out. Is that in the back of your mind where you have pride that you said, hey, I'm not going to let this guy strike me out?
Fran, that's the biggest thing, is just having the pride. I feel that going up there to the plate, if a pitcher's got 2 strikes on me, I'm going to make it just that much tougher for him to try and strike me out. It's a nice feeling to be able to at least make contact. Sometimes you may look poor on a pitch. He makes a pitcher's pitch on you, but I don't like carrying the bat back to the dugout and putting it in the bat rack. So I guess what it is that the concentration becomes more intensified, and all you can think about is just trying to make good contact, and if he doesn't make the good quality pitch, then you try and lay off of it.
And looked at your last time at bat when you did go the other way. It looked like you might have given in a little bit and said, look, I'm just going to try and put this ball in play.
Well, that's what you almost have to do sometimes, because you try and go for the pump or try and hit the home run in that situation, you're going to probably ground out. And there's been times where I'll go up thinking, try and break the game open and try and do something more with a pitch than rather than going up there and just thinking, concentration, and going with the pitch sometimes. That's where you fall into the difficulty of making a mistake on your own self. And that's what upsets me at times. Bill Robinson has told me time and time again to just go with the pitch away. If the ball's in on you, you can pull that ball. You're quick enough inside. And so sometimes your thinking gets away from you, rather than just trying to say, well, I'm going to make good contact here and at least drive one run in or something, rather than try and drive the big 3 in or something if there's, say, runners on first and second. Sometimes you fall into you make your own mistakes and you try and pull a pitch that shouldn't be pulled, and therefore result maybe double play or ground ball.
We talked about the hitting, we talked about left field, but how about the daring base running of fifth inning?
Well, Shane Rawley, the ball was hit right back to him. He knocked the ball in front of him, and he looked at me, and I thought he was going to come after me. With a situation like that, first and third, Buddy says to go on anything on the ground to try and avoid from the double play. As soon as Shane looked at me, he went right to first base. And my blazing speed, right? All I thought was just, try and get in there, because I was already halfway home. And usually in that situation, when you go with a first and third like that, you try and get into the rundown and then get the runners in scoring position to second and third. When he turned and threw, I just took off, and my blazing speed again, right? I just got in there by a fingertip is all it was.
Gary, your feelings today, for example, you had a kid go out there and catch a ball game, give you a day off, really a day off going to left field. Barry Lyons.
Barry, he did a great job, of course, handling Dwight, and I'm sure he was awed by the crowd, 42,000 plus, and his first big league game, his adrenaline's pumping and everything else, and I tried to calm him down a little bit as much as I could, and any kid with that going for him, the big crowd, Dwight Gooden on the mound, I mean, how else he was just fired up, and I thought he did a great job. Even though he didn't get any hits today, he's going to be a big asset to our ball club.
My guest on the postgame show, Gary Carter, the star of today's game, along with his battery mate, Dwight Gooden, and we'll be back with more right after this.
The Yankees take on the great and the not-so-great next week on Sports Channel. Monday, the Yanks bring their bats to bear against the world champion Royals when slugger Don Mattingly goes head-to-head with George Brett. Saturday, it's back to the Bronx for the Bombers as the much-improved Cleveland Indians cruise into the stadium. Winfield, Mattingly, and the rest of the Yanks show who's the best next week on Sports Channel, #1 in New York sports.
Hi, I'm Butch Weiniger. To some people, spring means flowers, blue skies, and warm weather. But to me, it means something else. So swing in the spring with the Yankees on Sports Channel.
In 1985, Gary Carter was an offensive powerhouse, smashing 32 homers and racking up 100 RBIs. What does Gary see for the '86 season?
Going into this season and coming off of last year, I know that I can't afford another knee surgery. Dr. Parks assures me that from time to time you'll feel some discomfort and all in it, but not to get too discouraged on it and just go out there and do the best you can.
Get to know Gary Carter on Sports Channel.
Well, welcome back to the New York Mets postgame show. If you just tuned in, the Mets victorious today, 3-2, one of the stars of the game. My guest, Gary Carter. And Gary, one last question. I'll let you go. Talk to us about Dwight Gooden. You left, you were in left field. You came in, you did the catching in the ninth inning, caught 2 quick Ks.
It was great to see Doc in a win situation. The last ball game, we didn't score very many runs for him. Again today, not a lot of hits, not a lot of runs, but when we did get the key run, he went out there, knew he had a win under his belt if he just gets them out, and he made some nasty pitches. One asset that he had going for him, too, I think, was the shadows had something to maybe do with it, and he just threw the #1 and let it fly, and Boy, Fran, it's really exciting to catch the doctor, and when you see him get a win like that, that's even a bigger plus.
Gary, again, congratulations. Thanks for always a great time interviewing.
Oh, I enjoy it too, Fran. Thank you. Pleasure.
Well, now we have some more time. We're going to go to the highlights and catch all the action, so let's roll the tape. In the first inning, Gary Rydice, first batter of the game against Doc Gooden, hit the ground ball in the right field, and he doubled. Rydice on second base, and Glenn Wilson the batter. Wilson hits a ground ball that Tim Tuffle's able to knock down. Mike Schmidt goes to second base, and Gary Rydice scores the first run of the ball game for the Phils. Here's Darren Dalton striking out to end the inning. By the way, Dwight Gooden struck out 3 batters in the first inning, but allowed that 1 run. Then the Mets, here in the 5th inning, Rawley had been perfect, and Ray Knight gets a base hit, breaking up the no-hitter. Barry Lyons then hits the ball right back at Shane Rawley. Watch this. Rawley knocks the ball down. Look at Gary Carter, who's halfway between third and home. Goes to first, gets Barry Lyons, and Carter, as he mentioned, with great speed, hustling home to tie the ball game. Here's Mill Thompson batting in the 6th inning. Ground ball second base. Now Temple bobbles the ball, casually gets it to first base, but Mill Thompson, great speed, beats the throw. And here on Temple, Von Hayes, the batter, here he singles in the right field, but they're drawn in infield, and Thompson scores from third base, and it's 2-1 in favor of the Phillies. Now the Mets in the 6th inning. Dwight Gooden here singling into left field. And with the doctor on first base, Kevin Mitchell, the batter, and he hits a shot into left center field. Good for an extra base hit for Kevin Mitchell, and Dwight Gooden comes all the ways around to score for Mitchell, his second Major League RBI, and the game is tied at 2. Some heroics in the 8th inning. Pedroia with a good pitch to Gary Carter. Carter hits a bullet in the right center field. Kevin Mitchell coming around to score what proved to be the winning run. Gary Carter very happy at first base. For Carter, his first game-winning RBI. Here's the last out of the ball game. Joe LaFay taking strike 3 from Dr. K, Dwight Gooden. And the final score once again, the Mets 3, the Phillies 2. Well, another outstanding performance by Dwight Gooden, a complete game. And Dwight Gooden with 10 strikeouts, raising his season total to 22. And we'll be back with more right after this.